This video to show you how the Periscope app works, and basically I am going to be showing you some Periscopes that I watched over a 2-day period to give you a sense that this app can be used to travel to different places of the world from the comfort of your home. So the first shots I am going to show you are from a Periscope recording that was done of the Eiffel Tower at night. And as you can see in the screen captures that I have, that people can, while the Periscope is being broadcast, text in comments, which then allows the person who's doing the broadcast to respond to questions or comments. The hearts that you're seeing are created by tapping on the screen of your iPhone or your iPad, and it's a way to let the person know who's doing the Periscope that you appreciate the broadcast that they're presenting to you. I am going to let the ones of the Eiffel Tower just continues without speaking, so you have a chance to enjoy the Eiffel Tower at night, all lit up. Okay, and the screen captures that I did of the Eiffel Tower are about coming to a close now. I have one last shot that's going to show you a comment from a viewer thanking the broadcaster. The next series that I have of Paris are from Claire Waddington, a Periscoper that I've been following now for over a week. I am just going to be capturing in these screenshots recordings that she did over a 2-day period. And here we are going inside the Cathedral of Notre Dame. And Periscope is a wonderful way to bring us inside a national treasure such as this cathedral. Here we're seeing some of the beautiful stained glass windows. Following the stained glass windows, Claire broadcasts some of the plaques on the wall of Notre Dame that go through the history of the construction of the cathedral. So those will be coming up right about now. And while she was doing the broadcast, she did give a little background information about the history of the cathedral. She's an outstanding broadcaster in terms of knowing where she's touring you in Paris and giving you historic information and cultural information. And she's lived in Paris for 20 years. And she does a lot of her touring by walking. Sometimes she does her Periscopes on her bike. And this is the next day when she went up to the top towers, the top 2 towers of Notre Dame. And here she is showing you various views of Paris. I've included a few with text comments coming in, but I mostly want to focus on the scenery she was showing us in these breathtaking views. And you'll notice that some of my screen captures are showing that she did some of her broadcasting in landscape. Landscape's a little bit more difficult when the text comments come in. They're much easier to read when the camera phone is held in portrait. You can see the Eiffel Tower here in the background. Okay, some phenomenal aerial shots. And then here's a quick shot taken actually from another evening when she shot Notre Dame at night. Okay, she's done many scopes along the river banks, and she's done many that are during sunset. So the next series will be from 2 nights when she was doing walking tours in Paris during dusk and during the sunset. And most of these shots are along the river banks. She has a good number of shots showing you the riverboats that people take, particularly in the evenings for the nighttime touring. Some of these are dinner cruises. Here we just see people sitting along the banks waiting for the sun to set. And here we have a shot of one of the night boats going out. This is a very popular boat tour. And in the evening, as you're sitting along the banks of the Seine, you're very likely to see these boats going by. I'm getting some glare here from her streaming, but I wanted to include it. That's a beautiful shot of one of the boats lit up at night. And since I did watch her for 2 nights, some of the shots for the sunsets will be darker later in the evening. That might have been the first night I was watching. And then some of them will be lighter because I was getting these screen captures from 2 nights of her doing recordings of Paris. And I believe I recall she was explaining that these are fire patrol boats that we're looking at here. And what I'm really trying to emphasize is that through this app Periscope, we can travel around the world. And if the person doing the scope is very familiar with the places that they are live streaming from, we could learn a wealth of knowledge. Okay, the next shots that I am including are of the sunset going down over the river. And Claire did turn her iPhone to landscape. And in making this video, I really did prefer to take the chat feature and hide it, which you're able to do. So when you're using Periscope, you could have the chat feature on if you want to text in comments, or you can turn it off. And also, if you're watching a broadcast after it's been saved to Periscope, you can watch it with the text comments appearing, or you can turn them off. And for this purpose of this video, in many cases, I prefer not to show the text comments, but that's really one of the features that makes Periscope highly interactive. But again, what I am trying to emphasize is using this app to allow yourself to travel to many different places of the world. And in this video, I'm just including 2 cities, Paris and Rome, and then I have some shots later on in the United States of the national parks. But within a 2-day period, I traveled to many other countries, including New Zealand, Austria, China, and also to various states. I spent some time in Hawaii. I saw the sunrise in Australia one day. I saw sunrise one day in San Francisco. So I had a chance to see quite a bit, but to keep the video tight and organized, I primarily focused on Paris, which is well known as one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And I've probably by now seen maybe about 15 or 20 different periscopes of France in the last week or so. And in addition to following Claire on Periscope, I'm following 3 or 4 other people that are doing fantastic scopes in Paris. And I'm sure as this app gets more popular, there'll be more people that'll be doing Periscopes. So Paris is a phenomenal city to capture in its beauty. The last shots I have from Claire's periscoping are of Notre Dame in the evening. With the sun setting behind the cathedral. And again, you can see those hearts of appreciation. And next we are coming to Rome. I included just a short segment of a walking tour around Rome that I had the opportunity to watch during a broadcast. And often when these people are doing periscopes, people do ask if the person doing the scope will show their face, and some of the periscopers are really good about it. So you'll see that coming up here. And so here we are doing a walking tour of one of the areas in Rome. And I did watch periscopes from this particular scoper over a 2-day period, so I saw some evening walking tours, some morning ones, and the next day I caught the Vatican. And these seats that you're seeing were set out the next day the Pope was coming out to talk, so they were preparing for that. And the next few screenshots that I have are also from the Periscope of the Vatican. And I'm closing out my screenshots of the Vatican, showing the Scottish Guards. And now I am going to shift from Rome back to some scopes I've been following from Nick Danger, who is touring the national parks in Arizona and Utah. I originally caught him in Grand Canyon, but I primarily wanted to take you around the world in 24 hours, focusing on what I was seeing within a 24-hour period. So while I was in Paris and Rome, I had a chance also to go to Bryce Canyon, and I did most of this over a weekend. I believe, though, that Nick did arrive in Bryce. I was waiting for him to arrive there. He arrived there on a Tuesday, I believe. So I basically wasn't always watching this Periscope while it was live. Some of it I had to catch in the evenings from the saved broadcast and do the screenshots then. Bryce is one of my favorite national parks in the United States. I've been very fortunate to tour many of them. And Nick did 3 live broadcasts in Bryce, and I do include quite a few screenshots from his broadcast, primarily because I love this park and I want to be able to share it with other people. And it's very different than watching cities like Paris and Rome. Nick was driving with his wife in a convertible car, and while he was driving, he was doing quite a bit of the broadcasting. He also did some walking tours. So it did vary depending upon when you were catching him do a broadcast, whether he was doing a hike or whether he was streaming while the car was moving. And here he was catching a waterfall in Bryce Canyon. Bryce Canyon is generally a dry place, so catching waterfalls is not always that easy. And it could depend upon the time of the year. Obviously, this was being done in the spring. Just some background, Nick is from the San Francisco Bay Area, and he was on a 2-week trip with his wife, traveling through the southwest part of the country with a large focus on Utah and the national parks in that area. So we're still with him here in Bryce Canyon. And I think over the 2 days he did 3 broadcasts. So I did have an opportunity to watch all of them, some while he was doing the broadcasts, some after they were saved in the Periscope app. So this was part 3. And that one I caught after it ended. You can see it said 4 hours ended. So I was not watching it live, but I got it afterwards. Bryce is an absolutely amazing, amazing park. I've been there twice. Once I went in the summer and it was crowded, and then I had another opportunity to go late in September, and the park was virtually empty. Nick is here in May visiting, and I think the park is starting to get a little bit more crowded that time of the year. He did a lot of his filming in the early morning, so he was able to get shots without people. And near the end of his tour in Bryce, he did capture a beautiful waterfall, and I have a screenshot of that coming up. Okay, he now is starting to head over to Zion, and I only have a short segment of his entry into Zion. And on his way to Zion, he stopped in Ghost Town, Grafton, and I want to include that because this was the town that was used as a background setting for filming parts of the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And so this Grafton Ghost Town was the bicycle scene from that movie, and Zion is there in the background. It's an old movie. It's a Robert Redford movie, who's done a lot of filming out in the Utah and in the Southwest. And also, I do follow many of these people now on Twitter, and what Nick does is he, each evening or when he has an opportunity, he mounts on his Twitter account photographs from the day. So it's another place to catch him if you can't get to a broadcast within the 24 hours that it's still up. And so what I'm showing you here are some screen captures from his Twitter account with the photos included. It also gives you an idea of some of the other parks that he traveled to. I watched some beautiful ones he did in Monument Valley. I didn't include them because that was not within the 24-hour period of me trying to capture what I was seeing. Actually, it went a little bit more than 24 hours. It went into probably day 2. And I want to close out with what he said was part of his favorite trip. And